Kuzia is Russia's up-and-coming theatre star. Kids love him. Females adore him. He is set to travel the world and win over audiences from Mexico to Japan. Kuzia is a good kitty. He's the cat's meow. And this is the story of his rise from an obscure litter to stardom. Kuzia has literally come in from the streets and learned to pose, purr, jump, climb, and perform super feline acrobatic tricks. Kuzia has joined the ranks of the 120 performing cats from the Kuklichov Cat Theatre. This is an elite group of performing kitties who play to regular sellout crowds and take away top theatre prizes at international competitions. And Kuzia is simply one of their brightest up-and-coming stars. Kuzia's long climb to stardom began with the most bleak of prospects. He was an unplanned kitty cat, brought into a home that simply couldn't keep another kitten. But his owner hoped and dreamed they could find a better life for Kuzia. In a long-shot chance, the owners brought him to the Kuklichev Cat Theatre for auditions. This theatre rarely accepts cats from the street. It can breed its own with fine acting pedigrees. But Kuzia's lack of fear and curiosity impressed veteran circus clown and theatre owner Yuri Kuklichev. Kuklichev agreed to take Kuzia into the theatre on one condition. The theatre's resident veterinarian must examine and approve the mixed Siberian Shorthair. And a few days later, the blood samples reveal a healthy cat, and Kuzia is formally handed over to the theatre. And it's up to Yuri Kuklichev's son Dmitry to find out what Kuzia's fate would be. Dmitry enters Kuzia into an intensive training program of several hours each day to discover his strengths and work through his weaknesses. And all this love pays off. Not only has Kuzia settled in with the other cats in his large cage, but by 3 months, he has begun to hone skills crucial for performance. Kuzia, it turns out, is a jumper and pole walker. These are skills that place him on track to possibly become one of the theatre's stars. If he continues with his progress and doesn't let success go to his furry head, then Kuzia will join a small group of the theatre cats who travel abroad performing to delighted crowds. Many of the theatre cats wash out at this period in their career, and Kuzia may simply join them as a reliable but unextraordinary performer. Or he may continue defying the odds and hit the big meow. The World Wildlife Fund has released a report warning Indonesia that it is set to lose its last remaining tiger species, the Sumatran tiger, if the widespread illegal trade in tiger parts and rampant habitat loss is not stopped. The report, called Nowhere to Hide, was published jointly by Traffic, the Wildlife Trade Monitoring Network, and WWF. It revealed that at least 50 Sumatran tigers were poached every year, and at last count, there were only between 400 and 500 tigers left in the wild in Sumatra. WWF believe that systematic killing of this critically endangered species is driving a substantial domestic Indonesian market for tiger skins and other parts such as bone used in traditional Asian medicine, and for trophies, charms, and souvenirs. Tiger parts are readily available from dealers, with many of these openly displayed for sale. Traffic's undercover investigators found tiger products in 17 of the 24 towns they surveyed, and 20% of 453 shops visited sold tiger products, primarily teeth and claws. The report also revealed illegal international trade in Sumatran tiger parts sold to South Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, Japan, Malaysia, and China. Loss of forest habitat is also a major threat to the Sumatran tiger. The World Bank estimates that nearly all of Sumatra's lowland rainforest outside protected areas will be lost soon. And despite this, some of the world's biggest paper companies, such as Asia Pulp and Paper, are continuing to clear thousands of hectares of forests a month to produce cheap paper for the UK and world markets. With only a few hundred Sumatran tigers remaining, WWF fears they may suffer the same fate as two other tiger subspecies, the Balinese and Javan tigers, which became extinct in the 1930s and 1980s respectively. Meet a kangaroo named Lulu, who received a National Bravery Award after raising the alarm to save an Australian farmer knocked unconscious by a fallen tree branch. Hobby farmer Leonard Richards was checking for storm damage on his property when he was hit by a falling branch. In a story reminiscent of a long-running Australian children's program series Skippy, Lulu began barking until Richards' wife came to investigate. She found her husband lying unconscious under a tree about 200 meters from the house, guarded by the kangaroo. Lulu was reared by the Richards family. They rescued her from her mother's pouch after her mother was killed by a car very early in her life. The RSPCA gave Lulu its Animal Valor Award to recognize the kangaroo's heroic act. Parents bring their children from miles away to watch Santa Claus feed the fish, and sharks play a game of underwater soccer. The shark soccer game is the main attraction at the National Marine Life Research Centre in Pingtung County in southern Taiwan. These predators bang the ball around underwater. The soccer ball is made from perforated iron, and inside it is meat, which is what attracts the sharks and sparks off the competition. The ball was originally devised by researchers to encourage the sharks to exercise more. These sharks had been sleeping 18 hours a day, and this had worried the staff. The aquarium had bought the sharks from local fishermen when they were babies, and staff were concerned for their health. The idea worked, and the aquarium staff noticed that the sharks vying for the ball resembled a soccer match. It has been so popular, the aquarium plans to keep the show going all the time. keepers at the Copenhagen Zoo have been sleeping near Ida, the bull elephant, for 2 weeks up to this birth. The contraction started at 8 a.m. and Ida found a corner in the stable in order to press her head into the wall and lift her hind legs up and shift from left to right. After a while, one of the baby elephant's legs emerged, and the keepers saw that the bull was positioned on its hind legs and therefore a bridge birth. The mother would not allow any of her keepers to approach during the birth, but the heaviest contractions finally pushed the baby out successfully. Ida then rolled the newborn around to break the amniotic sac. In order to protect her new son, Ida did not allow anybody to come close while she tried to help the bull stand up on its own 2 feet. However, after half an hour, the keepers were allowed to support her again, as the baby bull could finally walk on all fours after numerous attempts. The mother Ida came to Copenhagen Zoo in 1971 and had her first baby some 10 years later in 1981. Some of her other children are in zoos like the Chester Zoo in the United Kingdom, Cincinnati in the USA, and Rotterdam Zoo. Copenhagen Zoo houses the highest amount of elephants in Europe and 3rd in the world. 3 to 4 elephant bulls are born in European zoos yearly, and another 3 to 4 in the rest of the world's zoos. A new elephant house was designed by the internationally renowned British architect Lord Foster. Copenhagen Zoo has the most successful elephant breeding program in Europe. Unlike in the Wild West, wild horses in a German reservation are not caught with lassos, but with bare hands. Some 300 wild horses living in a reservation in Western Germany are chased into an arena once every year in order to remove the 1-year-old stallions. To avoid inbreeding, the stallions are taken out of the herd and later auctioned off under the eyes of thousands of spectators, some of whom pay between 200 and 500 euros per horse. The fields in the town of Mervelderbruch, not far from the Dutch border, have been home to wild horses ever since Count Alfred von Croy in 1845 turned part of his estate into a reservation. No blacksmith or veterinarian tends to the horses, which live in groups and are left to themselves, except on the last Saturday in May. Stephen Demmer is one of several horse catchers who chase the stallions, wrestle them to the ground, and then lead them on a rope into pens where the animals await the auction. Most of the catchers are locals from surrounding villages, and since 1907, stallions have been caught in Merveldebrug once a year. Catcher Stephen Demmer explained that there is a certain technique to a successful catch. You grab the horse's neck with one hand and its head with the other. Then you turn its head very carefully just a little bit. This is how the horse loses its balance. Then you jump onto the horse, which Demmer says hurts the catcher much more than the horse. Demmer admits that it is dangerous and a few things have happened, but added, getting up in the morning is also dangerous. At Tierpark Zoo in Berlin, baby giraffe Yeti seemed to enjoy her first public appearance, running round her family members happily within the zoo's enclosure. With her birth, the number of giraffes at Berlin's Tierpark Zoo went up to 7. It was the second birth of a giraffe at the zoo in that year. Anton, Yeti's half-brother, was born earlier on from the same father, but a different mother. Yeti's mother is 15-year-old Ellie. Yeti is the German short name for Henrietta. Some lucky visitors had a glimpse of the birth. One said the birth began while visitors were still watching. The last visit of the day was at 6 p.m. Then nothing happened for a while. At 10:30 p.m, the zookeeper went to check, and there she was, standing next to her mother. Measuring 1.85 meters at birth, Yeti was born 10 centimeters taller than her half-brother Anton. Giraffes usually reach their adult size by the age of 4. During her lifetime, a female giraffe can have up to 10 babies. Meet Gus, New York's infamous neurotic polar bear. Gus has had a lot of attention throughout his time at Central Park Zoo. The infamous creature was branded neurotic, paranoid, even bipolar. But keepers have finally made the polar bear happy. The secret behind this bear boost is a new water-whirling device called Endless Pool. It churns up the water of the normally tranquil pool, creating a fun current to play in. Before this new spa treatment, Gus would often act strange, worrying keepers with his endless and sometimes frenetic swimming back and forth. Gus's new toy is a hit, turning him into a more playful bear and arriving just in time for New York's blistering summer weather. Head keeper Don Moore says it's worth every penny. For youngsters visiting the zoo, it was a relief to see this once neurotic New York bear act the fool. And playful Gus was. He delighted visitors by swimming with a bucket on his head, as if to prove his newfound lease on life. It now seems the only thing keeping Gus from fooling around in bubbles is not depression, but love. It's mating season, you see, for polar bears, and Gus was rather keen on following around his enclosure partner, Ida, and keepers say that's only to be expected. It's thought at least 4 of the 19 species of the British bumblebee are now extinct. The bumblebee is vital to the agricultural environment. They are pollinators of both wildflowers and commercial crops, particularly tomatoes and strawberries. Their falling numbers are blamed on modern farming methods, the increased use of pesticides, and the loss of hedgerows. Scientists at Southampton University in southern England are using a DNA fingerprinting technique to mark and match some 300 bees from different farm sites. By identifying which bees are worker bees and where they come from, the scientists could work out what areas and conditions are the best for them to increase their numbers again. Agricultural firms regard this project as vital. One tomato plant company has had to import bumblebees from Holland because of the lack of local species.